Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL, and today we're working on this pattern. This is... I've already forgotten what the number is. I'll just put the number down below, figure it out later. Doubling this thing turned out to be super cool, plus flipping it made it even more cool. And I say that because when you first kind of look at it, it looks like it's so perfectly balanced, but then there's a little subtle thing that kind of happens where they join together and sort of makes the space a little bit different. And I'll kind of show you when we kind of get down to that area, but it really made the whole pattern just turn out really super cool. The weird thing was, when I was picking out the colors, I needed a color or a string that I had number of skeins of, and it turns out the one that I had more of was the lighter color. And this is the direct opposite of like the way that the pattern itself was set up. So I kind of just dealt with it for the first 20 minutes, and then I'm like, you know what, this is just gonna drive me insane. So I went and I used GIMP again, the program that the art manipulation thing. I used it to kind of change up both of the colors. It's basically select my color and then change it to something, and then that it was a little tricky because I kind of basically wanted to reverse the two colors, so I had to introduce a third color. So that way it didn't like turn all of the light color to the dark, and then when you go to click on the dark, you get everything, right? So that's kind of, it got a little tricky there for a moment, but yeah, it all worked out. I did kind of have to follow along with the pattern pretty much because it's not super intuitive, but it wasn't awful either. There's a lot of like seeing where the landmark is and knowing that, okay, here's where I was, what do I do next, all that kind of stuff. It all kind of worked out really well. I wouldn't say it's necessarily an easy bracelet, but it wasn't the hardest either. It was this kind of a nice, easy-ish kind of thing that kind of went on there. Like I said, there was a lot of like little marker areas to see, where I got to a certain area or whatever. That made it nice. I definitely appreciate it. It still took me 80 minutes, maybe 82, but right around 80 minutes to actually do the whole thing. So not bad, not terrible. And there was no strings where I had to worry about like if I was going to have enough to be able to do the tail on it. So that was kind of cool. And there's a bit of segment knotting. It's not the easiest, and I think if you watch like how I did it, I think I did fairly well overall. But yeah, it was an experience. Let's put it that way. It was an experience. And I wasn't mad at, any of the prospects in the whole thing. I didn't at any point think that, I should give up or, hate on it or anything. It was fine. So yeah, so this first little area here, you don't really see much of the whole S shape that the dark color makes. But then it happens like in the next set after this, and then it happens in a flipped reverse. But what goes on in between each of these sets are all identically the same. So when you first look at it, it all looks so perfectly balanced, and yet you can't really put your finger on what makes the difference. And the difference is those S's and the way that they're orientated. and where they join and where they don't join makes a thing. It's really cool. I really, overall, like, didn't quite see it when I was first putting together the pattern, and then like after doing it, it's like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. I like that. So yeah. Yeah, the little blue dots kind of make it for like a really interesting. I could have just used the yellow green color to not have the dots, but the dots in where they land really does help add to the overall look of this thing. Kind of hard to explain why. It just is. It's just adds to making every little area a little something going on instead of big patches of like blank or something, you know. So yeah, like I said, I wouldn't recommend this for beginners. If you're a little bit more experienced in tying knots, then you'll probably have a pretty good time with it. There's like for this area here, there's like no kind of right or wrong as far as like which order or direction to do it. But you can see like put in all the little dots, then just kind of square it in, and then it goes into the next area. See, I might not have like done the most optimal segment knotting, because obviously I could start on the right hand side already from what was there, but like knowing that this area is done before moving on to the next definitely makes it easier than trying to segment the best you can, only to like have discovered you made a mistake somewhere. So sometimes getting a space done makes a little bit more sense. So, and then this sets up for the little hook thing at the end of it, which is kind of neat. And then, yeah, doing up the edge gets the little dot in there. And then you get the longer yellowish color coming down. It's kind of it's a yellow with just the tiniest hint of green to it. And then it's actually, I know on the computer it looks like it's black, but it's actually a really dark navy blue. And so the green and blue just really goes so well together. I love it. It's really cool. So here's where, so it kind of, it's like a real cool spirally S shape that's going on, that's getting formed, but it connects with the one that's on from the other side. So it kind of reminds me of like when I was growing up, the stairs leading up to my house had this like wrought iron rail, and it had like these little decorative things, you know, on the uprights. It does kind of remind me a bit of that. So it's kind of a fun shape. And kudos to whoever did the first pattern. Like that, it is pretty cool. Like it, you know, if I hadn't doubled it, it was pretty cool. Just doubling it, I think though, really makes it something else. I really do like the way it turns out. And I definitely think that mirroring it in the center added a lot more to it than just continuing the pattern in the same direction. I really honestly believe that, you know, and that's the thing that you don't get in the other websites, when is the, you know, unless they show you the two parts, and then, you know, because it has to like be a continuous thing. But then you wouldn't know where necessarily to start it, where to put this, how to get the center into the spot. And that's the part that, you know, I want to show you guys. So this shape that's building up right here is what I was kind of talking about. Like it flips on the other side because the S shapes are mirrored from the center. So this little area right here is like one of the bigger differences of the whole thing. And because it has some kind of similarity to kind of what happens in between the spaces, it kind of just fits in really naturally looking, which is just fascinating to me. Like, it really just sort of suits the space. It's a little bit like a heart shape, but not really, because you'll see, like, when the other dark space gets in there, it's a little bit like a heart shape, or a little bit like a stealth bomber. That's another sort of triangular shape, right? Right, so it's the light color inside of the S things. I don't know. You tell me what you think it looks like. I just think it looks cool. I think there is something really fascinating about the way that turns out, and the fact that in the next space that goes in between, it's just like the one that's above it, where you get the 4 dots. That happens in between these S's, so that way there is something kind of consistent running through the whole bracelet, and then it goes the other direction. So that little heart shape, or, you know, stealth fighter shape, is going to be reversed on the other side. And that's, I don't know, I really think that turned out really super cool. So I'm just trying to point out the parts that amuse me while I'm making it, or when I get done with it, you know. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of nothing, but I like how it turned out. And you can see, like, here's that same diamond shape that happened before. It's happening again, despite the fact that which direction those S shapes are in. It's just like that happens in between each one. So if you were going to make this longer, you could expect that this little space right here is going to continue happening. So that's pretty neat. So yeah, this was made in a long day of, like, live streaming over for the YouTube members. So yeah, I kind of opened up the channel. If anybody wanted to come in, watch, chat with me, they could. Which kind of reminds me, actually, we're kind of in the center here. So let me thank my Patreon supporters as well as my YouTube members who make all of this possible. Without their help, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't have made nearly as many videos as I have. Basically, the whole weekly thing was kind of, they kind of said that, you know, I should make as much as I can and get it out there, and that people would like it. And it was really truly encouraging to know that people were willing to throw in some money to help support the thing, because yeah, I don't make an awful lot from the YouTube as of yet, so the string and all this other stuff really adds up. So yeah, you can see now, like, the S shape is flipped to the other side, and like the part where it connects in the middle will come up here shortly. But yeah, like I said, I did have to actually, like, kind of pay attention to the pattern as I made this. This isn't one of those ones where it just comes naturally, like, say, an arrowhead or candy stripes or whatever. Like, there's a lot of stuff kind of going on with it. With that said, there's enough places in there where you can see, okay, I'm here, I'm there. Like the patterns where I had to, like, cross stuff out on the graph paper as I go along, I really hate those. I hate when it's so darn difficult that I have to struggle with every little bit. This was not like that at all. So if you're just like an intermediate kind of bracelet maker who, you know, wants a nice little challenge that turns out something really, really cool. Because you'll see at the end, I mean, get the pattern thing right here. You'll see at the end, it really is a really good looking bracelet. It's really kind of fun. So yeah, see how this is like a flipped version of the other one? You got that, the arrow things are both pointing outwards. I love that. And then, get this. Those are the two complete areas of where the S shapes are, you know, fully formed or whatever. It makes another space like the middle thing, and then it's just the end of it, like how it started, where there's just a small portion of it. So overall, it doesn't feel like it took as long. Well, it didn't feel like 80 minutes because I wasn't like anger nodding or whatever, like struggling to try to figure out where the pattern is going. It just kind of naturally came out and like, oh, I'm done with this. I'm, you know, and then bam, I'm on to the next section. Oh, I'm already nearing the end of this. Like that to me just feels awesome. I love that. I think this would also, like I was saying, if you made it really long, like a guitar strap or something, I think this pattern would work out really cool. I would keep flipping it the way it goes. If I was going to continue it, just to really keep it interesting. But I think that would turn out really cool. As far as like maybe making it into a bag or something, probably not as much. I don't know. It might become interesting because if you double this pattern, where they connect would keep alternating. Like how they come to the edges and how that works out. So maybe so if this is 8 on one side, so 16, if we double it, there would be 32 strings. That's kind of pretty wide. That is, because it's just over an inch wide, you know, on its own, so it'd be over 2 inches. It could be interesting. It could be. I'm not 100%. I don't know, but definitely doing it as like a guitar strap would look pretty cool. Or in my case, I have ukuleles, so it could look cool for a ukulele. Because I think guitar straps, I think you want it to be wider than just 1 inch. Right, because otherwise it would be all that weight on just a small space. It would not be comfortable. Trying to think if there's anything else really in this. Not really. I think I've kind of covered all the bases. It's, you know, well, if you make it and you make it like maybe with some different colors or differently, you can share that with me. You can share that over on Discord, or I guess you could put it into Instagram. Discord's kind of nice because then I get a notification. If you just put it up on Instagram, maybe I see it, maybe I don't. I guess you could tag me in Instagram. I guess that would get my attention, but I don't know. Kind of would rather it be in Discord. Kind of makes more sense over there. So yeah, this is coming into the end of it. So yeah, it doesn't even, you know, do more than like 2 solid parts of this of the S things, and then this little partial bit. So you can see like the strings at the end, like they're already done with. And makes up the little space that's in between. Pretty cool. if you have any kind of questions or whatever, definitely leave it down in the comments. I will try to get back to you. And yeah, if you have thoughts or ideas for some other bracelet designs, I'm game. You know, unless it's one of those patterns that I absolutely hate, I would probably do it. But yeah, I'll at least let you know if it's something that's feasible or not. I don't just chuck it aside. Trying to think of anything else. No, we're at the end of the video, so if I suddenly thought of something now, I don't have much time for it. But yeah, I really did like this pattern a whole lot, and hopefully you did too. And thank you for hanging out this long. And yeah, as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.